if you want to ask a question, stick your hand up before we move on to the next speaker, and we can address any questions. And then towards the end, we're going to have a little broader discussion, in which you're also invited to join in, which is basically how can we increase engagement with activism generally? What can we do? Have we got any good ideas to share about, getting more people involved and seeing if we can accelerate some of these processes? So thank you very much, all of my panel, for coming. And I'm going to start with Joe. Joe is from the Plant-Based Treaty. Josephine. This microphone here is good, so I'll give you this one. Josephine, tell us a little bit about the Plant-Based Treaty and how can people get involved?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Yes, my name's Josephine, and I'm speaking for the Plant-Based Treaty today. Now, the Plant-Based Treaty was launched in 2021, and it was written in response to the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement seemed to miss out a lot on energy and fuel and on animal agriculture and on food. So Zafora Bergman wrote a paper called The Non-Proliferation of Fossil Fuels, and the SAVE movement wrote a paper called The Plant-Based Treaty to address these two missing issues and to be companions to the Paris Agreement. In 2021, we launched the Plant-Based Treaty, and it's a campaign that relies on getting local people to interact with their local government and local councils to try and get their town council or city council to endorse the Plant-Based Treaty. Now, endorsing the Plant-Based Treaty means to stop making the problem worse, to start redirecting resources to improving the situation, and to doing things like having community orchards and community food and a whole load of demands that when we get the council to endorse, they then include some of our demands in their climate action plan. Many councils have declared a climate emergency. They've come up with a climate action plan, and the climate action plan is often sadly lacking on mention of food and mention of animal agriculture. For example, I was really shocked to find out that the animal agriculture is actually responsible for 30% of transportation carbon footprint, which is huge. But it seemed to be lacking very much in the climate action plans. And another thing we found a lot is that people will say that we have personal choice. And yes, we do have the privilege of personal choice. But with that personal privilege of personal choice comes the responsibility for the councils to educate the people so that people are making well-informed decisions about how we proceed in responding to the climate emergency. To get involved, you can get involved by emailing Nicola at plantbasedtreaty.org or hello@plantbasedtreaty.org, and you can be added to the mailing list. And then you will find out what is going on in your community and what's going on in your local areas. If you want to start a group in your own area that doesn't already have one, you can do that. And by getting in touch with plantbasedtreaty.org, you can join the welcome meeting on Fridays at 3 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock on Fridays, there's a meeting every week giving global updates, because the Plant-Based Treaty is not just a local campaign, it's also a national campaign, and it's also a global campaign. All around the world, there are groups making huge progress with their local councils and getting the asks of the Plant-Based Treaty reflected in the Climate Action Plan. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead. I think what we're encouraging isn't so much moving towards processed food, but to be moving towards whole food. and to be moving towards a diet that is healthy. Because as we all know, processed foods, whether they're vegan or non-vegan, the very fact that food is processed destroys a lot of its nutritional value and introduces often elements that are not good for us at all. Does that answer your question? And the ask is, if you read the Plant-Based Treaty, which if you go to plantbasedtreaty.org, you can read the Plant-Based Treaty in full. It's only about 8 pages. It's an easy read. And it says what are the demands? What are we asking the councils to do? And there are many different options. There are many different things we are asking. And there is always something that will be a fit for an individual council. Yes, do you have a question? Oh, can I give you the microphone so that you can be heard? You have a quiet voice.
Hi, yeah, I'm Louise and I'm a councillor for Exmouth Town Council, and we're the 5th UK council, I think, to have taken this on, to endorse the Plant-Based Treaty. And all we can really do, we've adopted the treaty to suit our needs based on what we're able to do as a council, because there's some things which are beyond our remit. And what we're really doing is just trying to make people, we're emphasising raising awareness and educating rather than telling people what they can and can't do. And I think that's all we can do to start with it. Well, for now anyway. But
thank you. That was a very good point. A very good point, that it's about educating people to make their own informed decisions and choices. Thank you very much.
So just to say, Josephine, if you want to endorse the Plant-Based Treaty, this is what we want everyone to do. So not only yourself, ask your neighbours, ask your friends, ask your colleagues. There's the QR code. It's easy to find, plantbasedtreaty.org. It's a really easy, simple way to get involved, really effective. And I would just add about the Plant-Based Treaty, I don't see any more victories coming out of anybody than the Plant-Based Treaty. Every week, every 2 weeks, you get an email of some really good achievement, and it's so good. If you get a bit of climate to spare, plug into the Plant-Based Treaty. So thank you, Josephine. We're going to move on quickly. It's only a quick sort of 5-minute intro, and obviously then hopefully spark some interest and then follow up. Mark Gold runs a really amazing little campaign charity called Vegan Compassion Group. Very close to my heart. It's why I went vegan 40 years ago and stayed vegan in the early days. Mark, tell us a little bit more about this essential work you're doing, and importantly, how can people help you?
Well, we start from a philosophical position about veganism, that it's a position against violence to animals and to humans, and trying to reduce the suffering in the world, and to get away from this differentiate. Vegans are often criticised, why care about animals when there's so much human suffering. So we try and do our little bit about human suffering and a little bit about animal suffering. So from the philosophical position of compassion is the centre of veganism, the idea is to have some practical ways of doing this, which is mainly to fund small projects in developing countries, countries with people who are going hungry, essentially, or animals going hungry, and to build close relationships with groups doing fantastic work. I mean, the people who are really doing the fantastic work are the people who work in these countries using those vegan principles. And we're really about, it's money we really need so that we can fund more and more projects. But there are most aid that, from all the big charities is actually vegan. They just don't make anything of it. I mean, animal food putrefies, so if you've got a long-term hunger solution, animal products are useless anyway. But the big charities don't make anything of it. I mean, this is not to decry big charities. They do things that are important. And we work on another principle. You give money to charities and it goes to a good cause, but you don't know exactly how it goes. So we're very specific. We can do this being small. We'll say how many children can you feed with £500, and that so people will know exactly how much money has gone. Now, the most local campaign we do actually at the moment is feeding refugees in Ukraine, which is not very local, but we actually started before COVID. We were having welcome to refugee evenings in our local city of Exeter. And we formed relationships with a lot of these human rights groups and environmental groups, because we've also sponsored the planting of olive trees in Gaza and places. And they come at us as if what are these vegan people all about? And I think it's very important that we all build relationships with other groups who might not get it wholly what we're doing, but when they come to realize that there is something, we do have a shared place with them, they become much more accepting of these values. And so we have this kind of principle that, we're exclusively vegan. Everything we do is vegan, but we're not exclusive to vegans. And we get support from some people who are not vegan, but they like our projects, which are feeding school children in Ethiopia and Uganda at the moment, feeding refugees in Ukraine. We've also trying to set up a important veterinary clinic to help the street dogs in Kathmandu at the moment. So we're a bit different. We're a small charity. We're a humanitarian charity. Obviously, we can't, with the small amount of funds we've got, they're very, very small projects. But that does have its advantages. As I said, you know exactly where money goes. And it does practically reduce the suffering, while at the same time we emphasize the vegan values that we stand for. On a local level, I mean, frankly, as I said, what we need is people to spread the word about what we do and the projects, so that people who support will support those projects, vegans or non-vegans alike. You can read more about us on our Vegan Compassion Group website and Facebook page, where we keep regular updates.
Thank you, Mark. That's really good. So Vegan Compassion Group would really like some shares too, the visibility for Vegan Compassion Group. So if you want to help Vegan Compassion Group, obviously money's tight. It's not always easy to come up with money, but I think one thing we could underline is how far £5 will go in a developing country.
It's a really good
£5 a cup of coffee or whatever, but in the right country, in the right place, that'll be properly go a long way. And can I just say too, well done, because you've been supporting ANAS with the Plant the Land Gaza project. And ANAS is one of the few people who's actually getting aid into northern Gaza right now. And just this weekend, he's fed another couple of hundred families through the donations of people supporting his project. So just to underline, if you want to help, share on Facebook, retweeting, and we just don't see enough sharing and support, promotion. It's so important. And Mark, it's true, isn't it? Did you not tell me that you did a talk last year at Brighton, and there was 4 people there, but then 6 months later, one of them gave you £1,000? That's right. So that's again an indication of how important it is to keep making yourself visible. Thank you, Mark, and it's a really important work. Vegan Compassion Group, well done. So Michaela, who last year was here with us with Animal Rising and is now with us with the plant-based councils, do grab a mic. And Michaela, tell us a bit about them. It's a really important work, the plant-based councils. Another real feel-good factor, isn't it? We keep getting results. Exmouth, more to follow. Bristol in June, once we got rid of the mayor, isn't it? So tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Plant-Based Councils is part of Animal Rising's ecosystem of strategic, transformative projects, all working alongside each other to call for a plant-based food system and rewilding as the key solutions to the climate and ecological crises, and to greatly reduce animal suffering as well. And this campaign has been running nationwide for the last few years, and we've been calling on councils to make 3 big changes, and those are: firstly, to switch to 100% plant-based catering in their own internal meetings and events. Secondly, to prioritise plant-based menu options in other external sites where the council has an influence to do so. So that can include, some schools, leisure centres, care homes, and this is really about making the plant-based option like the default option in those spaces. And thirdly, we also are encouraging councils to promote and encourage plant-based eating to residents and remove meat and dairy advertising wherever the council has an influence to do that. And getting key institutions like councils that have a lot of influence to make this transition themselves is really a key way that we can move our society closer to this plant-based future that we're dreaming of, by giving legitimacy and credibility to this transition and paving the way to transform public opinion along the way as well by normalizing and popularizing plant-based eating. And yeah, at the moment we are taking this approach to both councils and universities, but we are really envisioning a future where we can set up, multiple different projects like this, maybe targeting like schools, hospitals, maybe workplaces one day, trying to target multiple different facets of society so we can reach as many people as possible with this message. And yeah, councils particularly have a lot of responsibility in this area, because over 75% of councils have declared a climate emergency. So they really have a responsibility to take action and show leadership on this. So far the campaign has been successful in getting 4 councils to go 100% plant-based in their catering, in Cambridge, Exeter, Oxford City and Oxford County. And alongside these sort of bigger wins, we've also had other councils go like vegetarian or introduce more plant-based options to their catering and things like that as a result of our campaigns. And up until now, this has really been due to just one very small central plant-based council's national team supporting people to individually email their councillors, try and get meetings with them. And what we're doing this year is we are elevating this campaign even further by actually setting up groups of people around the country to actually run their own campaigns with their council. So we can start to see hopefully a lot more success, because these groups will actually be able to, work more closely and consistently with their councils, and just have more capacity to include a much broader range of tactics and stuff like that as well. So yeah, we basically started this approach in Bristol towards the end of last year with a trial run, and that has been going really well. So we've now, as of the beginning of this year, we've taken this campaign nationally, and we've set up 18 different community groups now just over the last couple of months. So we've really started to see, huge momentum going from the very beginning, which is really, really exciting and promising for us. And yeah, we're working really hard in Bristol to get Bristol City Council to join the wave of councils going plant-based. And we would love to get more and more people involved in this campaign so that we can, show the councillors just how much support there is for this within Bristol, and can be more likely to get those changes. So yeah, lots of different ways you can get involved and contribute to this campaign. You can email your own ward councillors about this, advocating for the fact that you believe in this change and you want to encourage the council to do this. So we can, reach as many councillors as possible and engage them on this on this conversation. And we also host regular different events that you can come and get involved with in Bristol as well. We regularly go to full council meetings and ask questions and protest there. We do regular outreach for our petition and go out and do postering and leafleting and have socials together and stuff like that. So yeah, there's lots of fun ways that you can get involved here. And if you're not based in Bristol, then please do come and see us at the stall later today to, if you are interested in getting involved in this in your area, we can let you know if there is a team there already. Or we can, support you to help you set up one yourself as well. So yeah, please do come and chat to us, and please do add your signature to our petition as well if you haven't done so already. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thanks, Michaela. I just want to underline how important this work is, especially for vegans who are perhaps more of the animal rights base. The word I always refer to is that Donald Watson used to talk about ripening people to veganism. And this is 70 years ago. But how important it is to break down this speciesism and pick away. And councils can be a really big ally on this, because like you mentioned, they're all signed up to the climate emergency. They're open to direction and common sense. And I feel that with plant-based councils, it's like we can all be adults in a room, and but enough of us can we actually take over from all the people who are currently making a mess. And it's a real also coming up from grassroots, local, regional. And when I joined the movement 40 years ago, that's what it all was, really. There's very few national, it was all grassroots. And it's a really exciting development. I think also one that, I think we can refer to, it's a bit of armchair activism. So it doesn't matter. If you want to be out on the streets, for instance, with Ted and Weed Free, you can still go home and spend half hour doing petitions and supporting things like plant-based councils, plant-based treaty, a really important work. And it's also kind of youth-led, which is really exciting for some of us, Mark, who've been around the block a couple of times. We know, isn't it exciting to see people up and coming and really pushing for this change? So thanks, Michaela. It's really exciting. And again, it's one of these things we keep seeing victories, keep seeing encouragement growing. And just going to touch on what Edinburgh endorsed the plant-based treaty a year ago. But now another month, last month, I think, they put out a whole new schedule about what they're going to do in Edinburgh. So they're kind of built on that victory. They haven't just left it. It's like work in progress. So it's so important to keep working with that. Michaela, thanks. I'm going to turn to now Sossa. And Sossa is organising a really important day for us all, of which I'm proud to say I'm going to be part of. So is Josephine. Sossa, come on, let's spill the beans, as they say.
Hi. So I think I talked myself hoarse earlier at the table, which everyone should go and visit if you haven't already. Hi, you guys came.
Like that.
Sorry about the voice. However, we are organizing the 14th annual National Animal Rights Day in Bristol. This is going to be a pretty big one. It's in 200 cities around the world. And so we're going to have a peaceful march that's going to start in College Green, and then it's going to be followed by an art installation and a memorial for the animals that we haven't been able to save. And then we're going to be educating people about ways that we can make a bigger impact for the animals that are yet to be saved, and a celebration of all of the animals that we have in our lives that are with us. And so the three tenets of the National Animal Rights Day, or NARD, are to celebrate, educate, and commemorate. I think I said those backwards. But it is going to be followed by the Bristol Compassion Fair, which is going to be a tremendous day. It's community-led, it's community-funded, it's going to be really uniquely Bristol. We're going to be having speakers and stalls, we're going to be having loads of vegan food, and our overarching goal is to, as everyone's been saying, it's so important, everyone can get involved. Everyone can make a difference. So everybody, hands up, you're familiar with the city of Bristol, right? You've heard of it, it's kind of a cool city. Bristol, yeah? How many of you think animals deserve to be treated better than they're currently being treated by the population, right? So imagine if everyone out there in the world, vegan or not vegan, that felt that animals deserved better, stood up and said so at the same time in whatever way they could, however their voice can reach their neighbor or their grandparents, or if you have young people that you influence in some way. If everyone stood up at the same time and made some noise, we would make a tremendous racket, and it would reach so far, and we can do so much more for the animals than we have done. And so I'm really excited to have the opportunity. We are going to be having speeches by a whole bunch of impactful, influential vegans and activists. We're running a curry and quiz night that you can sign up to be part of if you're interested in animal and vegan trivia, and if you're interested in winning prizes, which is going to help fund the event. We are running a raffle. One of the bigger prizes, I think, is going to be vegan festival tickets, so that's exciting. And if you stop by our table, which is on the far wall, we are also giving away an absurdly big bucket. It's like 1.6 kilos of vegan candy today, in like an hour after the talk is over, the panel. And I feel really strongly that there is, as everyone has said, that there's something for everyone, whether it's speaking to your local council member, whether it's speaking to your school, if you have a school that you attend, or if you have kids that are in school, speaking to them about it. Veganism is not only a protected belief, but it is the future. Like the planet is on fire. It's not a question of if climate change is happening. It's here. It's knocking the door down. And so for the planet, most of all for the animals. We can do this, guys. We're all in it together. And so that's the National Animal Rights Day and the Compassion Fair.
National Animal Rights Day falls on
June 2nd.
June the 2nd. And it takes place all around the world, doesn't it? I mean, it's an incredible collaboration. What struck me actually, Sossa, while you were talking is it's a national thing, but it's also grassroots. It's down to the local regional groups to get themselves together and join in. But there's a kind of national branding and theme and PR. But it's a really powerful collaboration of not only on whole countries, but also the grassroots, which we all want to see grassroots building again and coming back to where we were perhaps 30 years ago, where really it was a grassroots movement. And that's not to say we don't want the nationals, but we want to see nationals and grassroots working together. So June the 2nd, and Josephine, you're organising a march, aren't you? Yes? Yes, so there's a march, College Green, 12 o'clock. We want to see loads and loads of people there, really make a big impression, and make sure that the traffic police in Bristol are on their toes, because they've got so many of us to march through Bristol. And then there's going to be a gathering afterwards. So this is like a bit more old school kind of, get out on the streets and tell people, what we're doing. And that's an amazing thing. So where do we find out more? NARD, National Animal Rights Day website?
So there's the NARD.org for the international, that's the 200 different cities, which is brought to you by Our Planet, There's Two. And then we have a Facebook page for the event, Bristol NARD, and Compassion Fair. And we have an Instagram account, and you literally just go on probably your phone rather than your keyboard now.
I just got to compliment you on a lovely poster for the Compassion Fair. Isn't that a gorgeous poster?
You can all see it if you go to our table.
Beautiful. The Compassion Fair. Oh, there you go, Ted. There you go. I'm glad that was there. Well, it's a lovely poster. So that's brilliant. It's a really exciting. I think a lot of us are going to be there, and I'm sure the other groups too will want to get involved. And it could be a really big gathering of animal rights people in Bristol, and of course, as you mentioned, in 200 cities across the world. So if you're in another city, sign up for your NARD now. Thank you. Ted is from We the Free, and We the Free are very visible in Bristol at the moment. It's one of the most up-and-coming campaign groups in the country, and you do get out and about, don't you? Tell us more, and how do we get involved?
Hi. So basically what We the Free does is offers people an opportunity to dispel the myth that is spread, which is that there are happy cows that are happy to lose their children and happy to give their lives for people to eat them. So we do this by providing people with an opportunity to see what's actually happening. We lift the veil, but we only do it in a way that is entirely consensual. So we do one of the most popular campaigns we have currently is called the 3-Minute Movie Challenge. So people can choose to watch the video. If they watch the full 3 minutes, then we give them some candy or some chocolate, something to say thank you for sparing 3 minutes of their time, and they go away fully informed, in a position to make an educated decision, which is not something that the industry that we all stand against wants. That's why they keep it hidden. So that's one of the main ways that we do the work that we do. We're also, we're also active in communities across the UK and across the world. There's a We the Free group for almost every city in the UK. We also are completely inclusive. So whatever your background, whatever your faith, whatever your denomination, whatever position you choose or take, we will take you. We need your help. We're all in this together. Also, if you would like to get involved, all you need to do is look up activism.wtf, and you'll be able to find your local group and get involved. I'd encourage absolutely anyone to come and get involved. We offer a position for people to just stand and talk to people after they've had their video. We offer people the opportunity to engage with the public and bring them in and talk about whether they'd be interested in watching the video. We have also some rather more, should we say, social engineering focused activities where we engage with people in a way that is slightly less than the everyday, or slightly different from the everyday. We recently did an activity using, what's it called again? Elwood. Using Elwood Organics. Yes. For anybody who doesn't know what Elwood Organics is, I encourage you to look it up. And it's where we encourage members of the public who are not vegan to demonstrate their outrage at the way that animals are treated. And then we encourage them to take a look at the way that all animals are treated. And suddenly they become aware of their cognitive dissonance. So there's lots of different ways that we engage with the public, and we have lots of fun. And at the very end of the day, we all gather and we go for a meal together and talk about our experience throughout the day and try and find ways we can improve as a group.
That's brilliant, Ted. And I noticed that you just mentioned the social aspect. We, the Free, are really strong on that, and it's really important. It's lovely to see, actually. Just compliment our colleagues, Sash and Chris, down in Bournemouth, because talking about socials, I think they spend more time having socials than they do out in the street, actually. It's not a bad thing, because they spend a lot of time out in the street too, but it's a great community vibe. I think people feel welcome and they belong. And it's pure vegan outreach. I mean, literally out on the streets, talking one-to-one about individual change. And what I like about this panel, actually, is we've got quite a nice representation of system change, institutional change and individual change. They've all got different tactics. They've all got some things in common, some things apart. There's different nuances. But one thing that have all got together is that we can all get involved with them. And we can get involved with more than one at a time, too. And I think that's a really important thing to underline. You can be a member of Animal Rising, but you could be supporting the Plant-Based Treaty. You can be part of We the Free. You can also be going and doing the Viva demos. You can be an animal aid person and also get involved with Animal Justice Project. There's so many good projects to get involved with.
And the NARD. And the NARD.
Yes, indeed. So just tell me again, Ted, how do you join We the Free? What do you do?
So you can reach out to us on socials. We're on all major socials. And through contacting your local group, you can meet up with your group leader, whoever it is in charge of that community area. And through that, you can just come along. It's very easy.
And there's also some really good online training courses you do too. I've seen some 3-minute, you do conflict resolution, you've got communication skills.
Yeah. So
these are great because they're online.
There are some fantastic video courses. We do a lot of Zoom meetings where you can come and have professional trainings in conflict resolution, in, oh my goodness, the list is endless, inspiring behavioral change, all sorts of things. I mean, I should say that Sossa is also heavily involved with We the Free. Yeah.
And there's a Bristol branch, Rebecca heads up the Bristol branch.
She does.
So there's lots of regionals. And a really exciting part of what we're seeing, a real big growth, actually. All right, well, look, we've had a little introduction. We've probably got another 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. So what I'd like everyone to do, and I'll start with Joe, is what we want to do. I mean, we've got a situation, I think we know, we've got something like an estimated 1 million ethical vegans in the UK, several million plant-based, another, goodness knows, millions of pretty much plant-based, vaguely plant-based, or what other variation we have. But that's a very ripe amount of people. One of the things we notice, the feedback from VegFest, is about 30% of people who come are not vegan, and almost all of them report they've had a really good time, it's uplifting, they've opened their eyes, I'd say they're ready for it. And they're nearly all either pretty much plant-based or, lapsed vegetarian or whatever these various, but they come along, they're kind of ready for it. And it just, I think, underlines that getting out and meeting people on the street, doing these things online, people are receptive. And it's always worth getting out there. So, Joe, I'm just going to ask you now, I'm going to ask all our 5 panellists to come up with just how are we going to up the game? We've got 1 million vegans, we've got 3 million plant-based, but we have what? Less than 100,000 activists? Less than 10,000? I don't know. But we don't have enough activists. How are we going to increase the pace?
I think the way to increase our numbers of activists is to build community. And I think We the Free are a particular example of their social events that underpin the groups that they form. Plant-based treaty too, when we do outreach events, we will go and have something to eat afterwards together, or a cup of coffee or something. And that's very important, to do a debrief, to talk about what went well, what could go better, what would you like to see happening more next time. So I would say that the way to build activism is to create a community where people feel like they belong, and they recognize the fact that their voice matters, and that what they are doing does make a difference. Because I think so often feeling disempowered and helpless really really limits what people can do, because there's a feeling of hopelessness. Before I became an activist, I was despairing about what was happening in the world, but I didn't really see any way of doing anything about it. And since becoming an activist and getting to know other activists doing all these other forms of activism, I really realized that we're all building communities. And then not only are we building our own internal communities, but I think that through collaboration and coordination with each other, we then build a sort of extended family. So I would say that community is at the heart of building activism.
Absolutely. Communities. Wasn't that lovely? Yeah.
I was going to say, I definitely consider you family, Joe.
Can I just mention too, there's a fabulous looking animal rights conference next month next month, I think it's this month. Are we in April yet? No, we're still March. April. There's the Vegan and Animal Rights Conference happening in Manchester on the 13th, 14th of April, I believe. There's still some tickets left for that. It's a really good-looking event. So if you are interested in activism, I would say get yourself up to Manchester in 2-3 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time. It's going to be fabulous. So that's VARC. Look it up. Mark, what do you think? What are we going to do? You've been doing this how long? 45 years?
Something like that, yeah. I used to work for Animal Aid for a long time. I think one of the things that you have to recognise, all that is very true, what you say about community, it's so important, is to recognise the difference in people and keep a kind of generosity of spirit, which is sometimes very hard to do when you feel so strongly about a subject and you're often meeting people who are hostile or just don't get it. And it's very easy to become kind of a bit self-righteous and angry, and it's anger, you can't escape the anger, but when you're dealing with people, you've got to somehow have the kind of psychological idea of putting yourself in there, trying to respond. What will this person respond to? There's many, many reasons for being vegan, and we all probably think the one we've got is the real reason, but there are many reasons. You've just got to find that spot, that weak spot in people. And it's not a weak spot. It's a strong spot in some ways. I always think of it as you're trying to get people to let into their life something they want to exclude from their living. They don't want to be forced into that position. And it's always, as I said, finding, accepting the difference in people and trying to be generous towards them. And that doesn't build up in huge numbers, but there's so many people out there who would have said at one stage, I could never see myself being vegan, and are now, advocates of it. And you don't get there by trying to force them into it. You just get them there by something Gandhi once said. I love this about the way to convert people to vegetarianism, as he said, was to display its daily beauties. Yes. In other words, it's by what you do and what you are, and people seeing it something necessary.
That's brilliant. So generosity of spirit, I really agree with that. Feeling and belonging, community, generous spirit is really important. Those are really good words, good takeaways. Thanks, Mark. Michaela, what did you like to see? What's your take on this?
So yeah, I was going to say very similar to Josephine in the sense that I think creating community is extremely important, and through having like regular socials and things like that you can invite people to come to as like kind of like their first sort of introduction into any group is a really good idea, because I think that it's about making those personal connections with each other that people can then feel kind of more comfortable to then get involved in the activist side of things, and you're more likely to have people coming back when they've made those personal connections, and yeah, you feel like part of a community with other like-minded people. And also something that we view as really important in the Plant-Based Councils campaign is to make sure that the people getting involved in our campaign have a level of autonomy and can like bring their own ideas to the table as well, in order to kind of help people to feel like more motivated and more passionate about what they're working on, rather than kind of just giving everything sort of pre-packaged to people that are getting involved. Like actually giving them the opportunity to co-create what it is that they're going to work on. So they've had that buy-in, and they're more likely to then be engaged with it and really believe in what they're doing. And I think it's really important to always openly express like how much any action that someone takes can make a difference, and how it all fits into like the bigger picture, to motivate people to get involved.
That's really interesting. So you picked up on the word autonomy there, which is a bit of a talk about in the animal rights movement at the moment, and especially with nationals and grassroots, how much control and how much autonomy. And I know that my colleague Tom Harris, who's been talking later, is a big believer in, we want to see the community, the grassroots take control of their own situation, and we want to see more, autonomy. And it's really important too, I think, that the big groups need to listen to the grassroots and that call for autonomy. So to hear that plant-based councils have sort of already built that into, the strategy, I think it's a really important point. So thanks for that. Sossa, we're going to ask you now.
Present.
You want to increase the piece. What are we going to do?
And the volume. So there's that saying, like, if you can't run, walk, and if you can't walk, crawl, and if you can't crawl, get someone to drag you. I don't think that's quite right, but I feel like there's a level for everyone, and whether it's just coming and holding a sign and not talking to anyone in an outreach, whether it's just clicking the yes, I want to send this petition to my friends and family, to have other people see a petition to stop hurting beagles in labs, or testing on bunnies or whatever, or whether it's sending a postcard to your MP or your council members. There is literally something for everyone. That is one of the big things that we're doing at the National Animal Rights Day. Our table's over there, and we're also going to be fully family friendly, because the next generation, that's how we're going to get them. The kids, the youths, as I don't think they call themselves. I see you. You're beautiful. It's just finding what fits for everyone. Everyone is different and unique and beautiful. Me especially. I made this hat. Thank you. So you like a puzzle piece, and you have to find what fits for you. Like I have a crazy 6-year-old and some weird health stuff, and so I can't do everything, but I sure try to. And 12 years ago, when I went vegan, I immediately lost my mind and started standing out alone in a superhero costume, trying to get people to go vegan. And I kind of haven't stopped doing that, but I don't expect everyone to do that. That's not realistic. So, bring vegan cookies to a bake sale, or, tell your neighbor to watch a documentary for free online. There is something for everyone. You just have to find your flavor of outreach and of activism.
That's really important, finding your own level. I think it's worth pointing out too, you don't have to be a frontline activist. You can be a support activist. So just something like, looking after somebody's dogs while they go off for a demo is a really important form of activism. You can volunteer, or maybe do some cooking for people, or provide food for people who are going off and maybe doing a demo, or risking, like some of the animal rising team who are putting their freedom on the line. There's a lot of support, and that's something we should. I don't think we're very good as a movement at saying thank you either, as gratitude for the unsung hero, the people who, the foot soldiers is really important. You don't have to be a major influencer to influence the animal rights movement. You can really do some good work by finding your own level, and feeling good about that, because we never know, do we? We never know our actions. We just don't always know how it's going to turn out. So brilliant. Thank you, Sossa. Ted, what are we going to do, sir?
Well,
apart from, some big plans for the future.
Oh, apart from that, okay. Yes, okay. So I personally feel that the best thing we can all do is to hold the door open for someone that you know somewhere. So I've been to many different activism events. I've been to many different group meetings, and the most important thing you can do from my perspective is hold the door open. Bring people with you. So if you have a car and you're going to go to an event and you know someone who kind of likes, let's say it's something to stop horses and horse racing. So if you know someone who really likes horses and they kind of have a bit of an understanding as to what's going on, ask them if they want to come. Invite them along. And they will most likely side with you and everyone on your team because they'll suddenly realize, hang on a second, no, I really do agree with these people. This is wrong. And all you did was hold a door open. All you did was invite them in. That's it. I also think that we need more events like the Bristol Vegan Fair. I think that this is also another excellent way of holding the door open for people who would otherwise not have access to this community. And by allowing them an opportunity to come into it, you have enabled them to become more active. So I think we need more people like Tim. I think we need more people like Joe and everyone on this panel.
We just need more people to do more, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But interesting feedback we got from Bristol, Brighton and London last year. We surveyed 850 vegans who fed back. We asked them about activism, and I think out of that, roughly, just ballpark figures, probably only 5% they said they were really active. Another 10 maybe percent said they were occasionally active. But a huge percentage, probably something like 60, 70%, said that they considered veganism as their activism. And I'm a big subscriber to that. You know, I would say that the best way to influence people is just be the best version of yourself and not worry too much about the results. Look at what you can do yourself and just be the best version and let some of that rub off. You know, keep inspiring yourself. Keep yourself motivated. It's probably the best gift you can give. You know, keep yourself pucker, chipper, keep yourself busy, keep yourself upbeat. So we have a question from the audience, and I'm just going to come and bring the microphone to you so that we can hear you.
We're 4 activists here. We are a part of Open Cages, and that's to do with going to Lidl's every week or less than that, you know, to try and get people to sign a petition. And we're trying to get as many signatures as possible so that it goes on the system, and hopefully the most we get will do something to stop the Franken chickens that they're growing. And at the moment we go to Lidl's, and we've just had something good happen, haven't we? We've had some good information. They just signed up for better welfare, meaning they're giving them more space, but they still have the same chicken. But yeah, we just wanted to say that sorry.
It's the power of petitions. Thank you for mentioning it. The petitions have really come into their own, and particularly with plant-based treaty, we've seen petitions really work. Councillors. Yeah.
And with that, when I ask them about it and about the cruelty, then they open up and you will get them to sign. You will not forget. If you start saying
what's her name? Lynn, thank you very much. Let's give Lynn and the ladies here a round of applause. There's street activism, petition activism. All of this activism is what we need to see. We need to increase the activism in this country, and credit to all those activist groups who are doing just that, and all the people who get themselves out and about, keep themselves busy, and seek fighting for animal liberation and shift to plant-based food systems. Ladies and gentlemen, general people, everyone, if you could give our panel a round of applause, thank you very much. If you want to have a little chat with anyone, we're going to hand over to Tom now. He's going to do his talk, but just out there's a little workshop room. So if you do want to come and talk to anyone about the campaigns, find out a little bit more, be very welcome. We'll just pop out the door so that we can move on for the next talk. So thank you very much, folks. That's very good of you, and thank you for audience for listening. And thank you for coming to Bristol Week.